Population has drastically changed in the past 200 years. Up until 1800, the world had less than a billion people. Lots of people were born, but few survived the first few years of life. Things like famines and epidemics would regularly reduce the population size that was attained during good times. The 1900s was called the century of demographic transition because a huge population rise mainly occurred in the last 50 years of the century, with global population increasing from 2.5 billion people to more than 6 billion people. Demographic transition comes by improvements in health and living conditions that improve child survival rates. Many years later, fertility rates will fall when people realize that they don't need to have so many children to make sure some will live past infancy and childhood. Their children have children, even though they have fewer children than their parents, and the population increases because the number of new parents is much greater than in previous generations. The global population is currently estimated to be around 7.5 billion people. In 2016, the population was at 7.4 billion people. This is a stark increase in global population. For comparison, in 1960, global population was 3 billion people. In 1974, population was at 4 billion people. In 1987, the population was at 5 billion people. By 1999, that number was at 6 billion people. An even more drastic way to look at it would be to see that in 1930, or 2 generations ago, the world population was around 2 billion people. Approximately 100 years later, the population will have increased by 4 times that amount. Current population projections believe that in 2050, there will be 9.2 to 10 billion people. The United Nations has projected several different estimates, low estimate being 7.8 billion people, medium estimate being 9.2 billion people, and the high estimate being 11.9 billion people. Population is increasing much more rapidly in less developed nations. In fact, almost half of all population growth is projected to come from 7 countries that are considered poor by developed nation standards. In order of contribution to world population growth, these 7 countries are Nigeria, India, the United Republic of Tanzania, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Niger, Uganda, and Ethiopia. This faster population growth is likely due to ingrained tradition. Namely, families in these countries usually have more children to compensate for the higher likelihoods of child mortality, along with the added benefit of more hands to help out around the house. However, with better access to health care, death rates in third world countries are falling. Today, the largest generation ever is under 25 years old. As economist Robert Casson said, virtually everything that needs doing from a population point of view needs doing anyway. With this and the rapidly increasing global population in mind, it is important for us to realize the effects of this rise in population and possible solutions.